First of all, I want to congratulate you on taking the time out of your busy schedule to join me tonight. I know that you have a lot of other things that you can be doing. The fact that you're here tonight with me, it kind of tells me that you want to have normal thyroid function. And number two, that drugs have failed to produce the results that you want. Number three, your doctor that you've been going to, whether it's your endocrinologist or your primary care doctor, they can't figure out what's wrong with you. And number four, you may notice that something's not quite right and you're sick and tired of dealing with this and you want some answers. So hopefully we're going to connect some dots for you tonight and answer those questions and try to give you some answers tonight. So let's go over who this is not for. This is not for anybody that is not serious about improving their health and their well-being. If that's you, this is probably not going to be for you. It just really want to reach out to those people that are absolutely wanting to improve their health and their life. Number two, if you're not willing to take action to change your situation, if you want to change any kind of situation, you have to take some action and you have to take some effort to improve your situation. If that's not you, this is probably not for you. I just really want to work with people that are willing to improve their health and their life and wanting to take some action to do that. Number three, if they're only interested in a quick fix or only doing whatever the insurance covers, those are the people that are just not really interested in health, but just interested in a drug therapy, in a quick remedy, a quick patch type of thing. This is probably not going to be something that you're going to be interested. And number four, if you're only going to listen to the same doctors over and over again, the ones that have already failed you, I want you to branch out a little bit. I want you to explore what's out there. There's a famous saying that the Chinese have that says, if you want to taste my tea, you must first empty your own cup. And that means that you cannot just assume of what I'm going to talk about is you've already heard this before, because I guarantee that I'm going to be talking about things that you've never heard of before. So here's my big promise to you. Today, I'm going to reveal what's possible if you just simply take off the blinders that is keeping you from losing that stubborn weight, lifting the brain fog, and having tons of energy, and eliminating any kind of imbalances that you have in your life that is interfering with your ability to keep your thyroid functioning and give you what you really want. So if you stay until the end of the webinar, you'll be rewarded. First of all, I'm going to give you a free bonus gift. And number two, I'm going to give you a customized solution for you to have sustainable, long-lasting results so that you don't become another statistic. So let me introduce myself. My name is Dr. Kevin Smith. I'm a doctor of chiropractic. I am board certified in integrative medicine, functional medicine, and clinical nutrition. I've been in practice for 21 years. I'm a published author, a public speaker, and I'm a consultant to hundreds of doctors throughout the country on thyroid issues. And my mission is to transform the lives of people that are suffering with hypothyroidism by using science-based nutrition and clinical nutrition. So Doug from Monroeville wrote that I now feel normal again. My energy is up. I get a full night's sleep. The brain fog is completely gone. And for the first time, I'm actually starting to feel like a completely different person. If you have thyroid problems, you have to try Dr. Smith. Kathy from Pittsburgh wrote that once I consulted with Dr. Smith, he put me back on a drug-free, natural approach to bringing my body back to a neutral state. I'm finally back to my old healthy, feeling great self, and I couldn't be happier. Thank you, Dr. Smith. And Mark from Pittsburgh wrote that because his approach to hypothyroid problems is different, I feel better than I have in 20 years. I've lost weight, my energy is back, I can think clearly. If you have a thyroid issue, you must try Dr. Smith. He is an amazing doctor. So before we begin this discussion, I want to share with you a personal problem that I experienced in my life almost 2 decades ago. Earlier in my career, I had no idea how to help people with thyroid problems. I'm a chiropractor, and as going to chiropractic school, they teach you all kinds of stuff on how to fix people with back pain and herniated discs and headaches and knee pain, but they're not really going to teach you a whole lot about how to fix chronic chronic thyroid problems, and complicated metabolic disorders like that. So let's talk about some of the symptoms of hypothyroidism. That includes things like brain fog, no energy and fatigue, gastrointestinal problems, dry, brittle hair, the loss of the outer 1/3 of the eyebrow, cracked or weak nail beds, aches and pains, nervousness, irritability, anxiety and depression, poor libido, sleep problems, and heart problems. And so what I'd like to know is, I'd like to know how many people here have those problems and which problems are they specifically? Put that in the chat in the group. Number one, what symptoms have you been experiencing that you want to get rid of all these different ones that are on your screen right now? And the second question is, what is the most frustrating aspect of having these problems? And the third was, how do these issues affect your mood, your self-esteem, your energy, and your just day-to-day life? I'd like to know that. Just go ahead and write that in the chat. And I'm seeing that the chat is starting to light up a little bit. So we'll try to get to those questions and those comments as soon as we possibly can. So the bottom line is that people were coming to me with the hope that I could fix their problems. And while searching for a completely different therapeutic approach, I stumbled upon something. And it was a discovery that ultimately changed my life, my professional and my personal life. And it happened around 2003. And that was combining laboratory testing and clinical nutrition. And so by combining laboratory testing and clinical nutrition, I was finally able to figure out the hidden root cause of what's causing these problems with people. And then I was finally able to put a stop to them. So it was a journey to become a medical detective. So for about almost 20 years, I learned everything that I could about lab testing. And then I learned everything that I could about clinical nutrition. And the result was that I was able to help people to lose the weight and to keep it off. I was able to help people lift the brain fog, eliminate gastrointestinal problems. You know, that could be things like constipation or diarrhea, bloating, gas, distension, abdominal cramping, things like that. Having tons of energy. It's kind of like turning the light switch back on and you have as much energy as you need, even if you have that afternoon energy crash, if you know what I'm talking about. Be able to stabilize their blood sugars, or eliminating prediabetes or reversing type 2 diabetes, stopping their hair from falling out, healing the nail beds, people that have cracked or brittle nails, getting a good night's sleep, and ending nervousness and irritability once and for all. So the bottom line is that you're going to feel normal again by using laboratory testing to find out what the problem is, and then use clinical nutrition to restore balances to your different parts of your physiology in your world. So how would this benefit you? You have less reliance on medications. Boy, wouldn't that be great if you didn't have to take as many pills all the time. You have better self-image and better self-esteem, more confidence, more productivity. That means you'll be able to do a better job and maybe get that promotion that you've been waiting for. Have peace of mind, improve relationships, or have overall a brighter future. So you may be thinking, you know, it might work for some people, but not for me, or my issues are too severe. I'm stuck on all these medications. My problems have been going on for far too long, or these problems they're just a part of aging, or I have bad genetics, or I don't know where to start. So we're going to talk about those things today, and we're going to try to give you some solutions and connect the dots for you. There's ultimately 3 keys to success with my program. Number 1 is you must be coachable and willing to learn. If you're coachable and you're willing to learn, then you have the ability to move forward and take action. The second one is you must focus on progress. You don't have to be perfect. While you don't have to be perfect, I want you to take imperfect action to move forward towards your goals. And the third thing is that you must commit to never letting self-doubt get in your way of having what you truly want, need, and deserve. So you can do this. The past does not equal the future. I don't care if you had thyroid problems for the last 20 years or the last 10 years or 5 years or 1 year or 6 months. The past does not equal the future. It does not determine your fate. You have the ability to, a lot of times, reverse and completely heal these problems. So I want you to imagine what life would be like without limits. It's a lot closer than you realize, but you've got to take action to fix this problem. I can't do that for you. You have to meet me somewhere in the middle. If you're drowning and I throw you a life preserver, are you going to grab it? And your answer is yes, absolutely. So here's the problem again that I want to define for you. People are having weight problems, nervousness and irritability or brain issues, problems falling asleep or staying asleep, problems with their GI tract or low energy, being able to make enough energy for work or for play, having fertility problems. That would be things like problems getting pregnant or problems with abnormal periods or whatever, have problems with brain fog. That's problems where like you walk into a room and then you can't remember why you walked in that room, or you're like having a conversation with somebody and 10 minutes later, you can't remember the details of the conversation. Hair and nail problems, that's like cracked or weak nails all the time. Skin problems like dry, flaky skin or oily skin. Depression and anxiety and aches and pains. All of these problems can be ultimately linked back to a thyroid issue. So thyroid problems can be resolved, but again, you have to use the right strategy at the right time. So we use clinical nutrition and science-based nutrition in laboratory testing to find out exactly where those problems are coming from. So I want to give you something right away that you can use to improve your energy right away. So number one, I want you to increase your water intake to at least 64 ounces of water per day. So, you know, those bottles that you buy at Walmart, those are about 16.9 ounces. If you drink 4 of those a day, that is 64 ounces of water or thereabouts. So that's what I want you to do. The solution to pollution is dilution. So by drinking more water, you're able to flush away toxins and waste products, and it's going to improve your cellular function. It's going to help you to make energy. And number two, I want you to replace snacks that you're eating right now that have a lot of refined sugars and replace it with natural foods that don't have a lot of sugars. By reducing the amount of sugar intake and by increasing the amount of water, you're automatically going to increase and boost your energy right away. So that's a little thing for me to give to you that you can do right now to improve your energy. So this is the 3 easy step process to recovery from thyroid issues. Number 1, I need to review your medical history. I have to see what you've already done in the past and what doctors you've been to, which labs you've done, all that kind of stuff, so I can see what they've already done, and then I can try to fill in the gaps. Number 2, we need to check for imbalances in your physiology through lab testing. So we'll talk about that a little bit in this presentation. And number 3, based on what I see on the lab tests, I will be able to implement a corrective care plan to rebalance any kind of issues that you're having. So let's talk about thyroid hormone. Thyroid hormone is made in the thyroid gland, and there's 2 types of thyroid hormone that we're going to be talking about right here. There's T3 and there's T4. T3 has 3 iodine molecules attached to it. T4 has 4 iodine molecules attached to it. The thyroid gland is a small butterfly-shaped endocrine gland that sits in your neck right about here. And the purpose of the thyroid gland is to make thyroid hormone. So that's where the stuff is made. And it's under the control of the brain and a specific part of the brain called the pituitary gland. And the thyroid gland has many functions in your body. It makes the thyroid hormone. It controls your temperature. For females, it controls their menstrual cycles. So it has a lot of different types of functions. So hypothyroidism is a word that means low thyroid hormone. So hypothyroidism is low thyroid hormone. Hyperthyroidism is high thyroid hormone. 97% of the people that have a thyroid issue have hypothyroidism. That means that, number one, an insufficient amount of thyroid hormone, that T3 and T4, an insufficient amount is made in your gland. So your gland's not making enough thyroid hormone. The second reason is that you're having a problem transporting that thyroid hormone around your body. And so it can't reach the cells because of that. And number three, there's a disruption elsewhere in their body peripherally that's causing your thyroid hormone to not be able to latch onto your cells correctly. And that's the most commonly caused from chronic inflammation. So again, hypothyroidism has three causes. Number one is insufficient amount of T3 and T4 being made right here in your thyroid gland. Number two, you're having a problem transporting the thyroid hormone throughout your body. And number three, there's something interfering with the thyroid hormone being able to latch onto your cells in your body. So what exactly is thyroid hormone and what does it do? Thyroid hormone is kind of like the accelerator pedal in your car. If you step on the gas pedal, what's going to happen? It's going to speed up, right? So the thyroid hormone is kind of like the gas pedal of your cells. So when you have enough thyroid hormone getting to your cells and latching onto your cells, it makes the cells speed up. And if you don't have enough thyroid hormone doing that, it's going to come to a grinding halt. Every single cell in your body, without exception, has a receptor site on the cell wall for thyroid hormone. So that includes all of your tissues like your blood cells or your sex cells or your muscle cells, the cells that line your gut or your bone or your brain or even your liver. Every single cell has a receptor site for thyroid hormone. So for example, if you don't have enough thyroid hormone getting to your gut cells, the enterocytes, what kind of symptoms do you think you may be able to see with that? How about constipation or a slowing down of the food as it passes through your gut? What happens if it happens to your brain or your neurons in your brain? If you don't have enough thyroid hormone going to the brain, you may have some things like brain fog, irritability, nervousness, depression, brain fog, things like that. What if it happens to your muscles? You may have things like cramping or muscle weakness. What if you have problems with it going to the sex cells like the ovum and the sperm? Maybe you're having a problem conceiving a child or you're having abnormal periods. So ultimately, you want to think about it like this. The thyroid gland is kind of like the master gland of the body because it can indirectly affect the function of every single cell that you have. So there's a hormone called TSH. It's produced by the pituitary gland in your brain. This is the most common thyroid test that medical doctors are going to check you for. And so if the pituitary gland is making enough TSH, it can make the thyroid gland in your neck make thyroid hormone. If you're not making enough TSH, you're not going to be able to make thyroid hormone. So this is the number one test that's done by your medical doctors to check you for thyroid function. The normal level for TSH is between 1.8 and 3.0. That's the normal level. So if you're below 1.8 or if you're below 1.8 or you're above 3.0, then you're in an abnormal state. So if you have above 3.0, if it's above the baseline of 3.0, that means you have hypothyroidism. I know it's kind of counterintuitive because you would think that low means low, but high TSH means you have hypothyroidism. Low TSH or below 1.8 means hyperthyroidism. So that's how this lab test works. So the standard of care for thyroid treatment that's done by virtually every primary care physician and every endocrinologist is a system that dates back to the 1960s, and that's using medication radiation, and surgery. And while the names of the procedures and the medications have changed a little bit over the years, the actual methods of treatment and evaluation have not changed at all. So you're getting 50-year-old technology here. So the standard of care, which is this, with standard of care is what you're going to get if you go to a medical doctor. They're going to order just enough tests to arrive at a diagnosis in order to prescribe a drug. So they're going to order a TSH and a free T3. That's about the extent of what most doctors are going to order for you. A full thyroid panel includes a TSH and a free T3, like the kind that the doctors do, but it also includes things like a free T4, a total T3, a total T4, a T3 uptake, a reverse T3, TPO antibodies, anti-thyroid globulin antibodies, and if I suspect Graves' disease, a TSI test. Now, how can you be expected to get all of the important information or understand the entire thyroid landscape if you're not ordering all of the available tests? The answer is that you can't. They're just ordering a very bare, small, narrow bandwidth of tests and just extrapolating and assuming that they understand the rest of this. So there are 6 patterns of low thyroid issues. Number 1 is primary hypothyroidism. That's a problem where you're not making enough T3 and T4 in the thyroid gland. Number 2 is further upstream. It's a problem in your brain. It's called a pituitary gland dysfunction, where your pituitary gland cannot make sufficient amounts of TSH. Number 3 and number 4 are conversion factors. So T3 is the active form of thyroid hormone. T4 doesn't really have any function. It doesn't really do a whole lot in your body. So the body has to convert T4 into T3. And it does this in 2 places. It does this in the liver and in your gut. So it wants to lop off one of those iodine molecules to make T4 into T3 and to turn it into the active form of thyroid hormone. Okay, you following me so far? So the third pattern is under conversion of T4 to T3. So it's not converting it enough. Number 4, the fourth pattern is over conversion of T4 to T3. So it's doing a little bit too much. Number 5 is called binding globulin dysfunction. Globulin means a carrier protein. So thyroid hormone is kind of lazy. It doesn't want to really move around the body. So 98% of all the thyroid hormone in your body is bound to a carrier protein called thyroid binding globulin. So if you're having a binding globulin dysfunction, you're not making enough carrier proteins to transport your thyroid hormone throughout your body. So you can be making plenty of thyroid hormone, but if you can't distribute it throughout your body, you're going to have a problem with low thyroid issues. And number 6 is thyroid hormone resistance at the cells. So you're making enough thyroid hormone, it's being distributed throughout your body good enough, but it's not binding to your cells because of some kind of a problem, and that's usually like chronic inflammation. Now, here's the thing. Of these 6 patterns, only one of them is going to respond to medication. That means that you have a 17% chance of thyroid medication even working, and you have an 83% chance of it not working. So it doesn't matter if you're taking Synthroid or levothyroxine, Cytomel, Armour, it doesn't matter, Tyrosint. You have a 17% chance of it even affecting this, because the only one of these 6 patterns that is going to affect is the first one, primary hypothyroidism. The other 5 are not going to be affected by medications whatsoever. And all of these 6 patterns can be identified through doing the proper lab tests. That's why it is absolutely essential that you order enough lab tests and they're done in the right order. Okay, so let's talk about thyroid issues. When you have hypothyroid issues, that means that you have an insufficient amount of thyroid hormone, or you have an insufficient amount, it can't be distributed through the body, or can't attach it to the cell. So the classic diagnostic criteria for hypothyroidism is that the TSH is too high. So remember, the normal levels are 1.8 to 3.0. If you're above 3.0, that's the classic diagnostic criteria for hypothyroidism. However, in about 80 to 90% of everybody that has hypothyroidism, it's due to a condition called Hashimoto's hypothyroidism. Now, this doesn't occur with everybody, but 80 to 90% is almost everybody. So 8 out of 9 out of every 10 people that have hypothyroidism have Hashimoto's disease. So this is ultimately an autoimmune condition. With an autoimmune condition, your immune system, your white blood cells are accidentally attacking and destroying your body. So it's not something that should be going on. Your immune system should be attacking and destroying foreign invaders like bacteria or a virus or a parasite or something that's going into your body that's going to cause harm to your body. But when the white blood cells of your immune system attack and destroy your own body tissues, that's called an autoimmune disease. Now, here's a couple things about autoimmune disease that I'd like you to know about. Number one, you cannot turn off an autoimmune disease. You can't flip a switch. Once you have it pretty much for the rest of your life, but you can dim it down, kind of like you dim down a chandelier in your dining room so that less electricity is going into the lights. And when you can dim it down, it's no longer causing mischief. And number two, autoimmune disease is kind of like a schoolyard bully. So if he's picking on kids over here, he's probably picking on kids over there too. So it's very common to have multiple areas of involvement if you have an autoimmune disease. So some of the more common areas are the thyroid gland, the brain, the gut, and the skin. So it's very common for people that have hypothyroidism to also have some gut problems or some brain problems or other problems in connective tissues in their body. So Hashimoto's disease, 80 to 90% of everybody that has hypothyroidism has Hashimoto's. That's been proven by the American Academy of Endocrinology. Ultimately, this is not a thyroid problem. This is an immune system problem. So who is monitoring your immune system? Probably nobody, right? So number one, this problem can be very easily identified through the proper blood tests. We do a TPO and an antithyroid globulin blood test. It's a very common test and all labs can do it. Most MDs don't check for this problem. And even if they did, it's not going to change the treatment plan, which is to just put you on hormone replacement therapy. And again, autoimmune disease is incurable. You can't turn it off, but while you can't turn it off, you can put it completely into remission so it's no longer causing problems in your life. So getting back to our grid here, we identify the autoimmune disease by doing a thyroid antibody test. And it's either going to be one of two outcomes. It's either going to be positive or it's going to be negative. So if it's positive or it's negative, we have specific things that we have to look at. If it's positive, we have to look at Hashimoto's disease, and if it's negative, we look at triggers. We'll get to that in a little bit. So if it's positive, if your thyroid antibody test is positive, it means that you have Hashimoto's disease, and what we have to do is we have to identify where the imbalance is going on in your immune system. So your immune system kind of looks like this. You have two divisions. You have the Th1 and you have the Th2. The Th1 division is like the Marine Corps. They go in there and they kill everything. So that's like the white blood cells. They go in there and they kill the invading bacteria. The Th2 division is the memory division that remembers every germ that you've ever been exposed to throughout your life. Now, ideally, the Th1 and the Th2 are kind of balanced with each other. But if one of them becomes more dominant and the other one becomes more recessive, that's what's going to cause an autoimmune disease. So the way that we identify which is the dominant and which is the recessive of these two hemispheres is by doing a 6-day immune system challenge quiz. And then ultimately, we want to rebalance your immune system to bring them back into harmony with each other so the Th1 and the Th2 are balanced with each other. Now, let's say, for example, that we get the this all is all harmonious. The second part of the equation is to check for triggers. So identifying the triggers. So what's a trigger? A trigger is something that, other than autoimmune disease, that is causing a disruption with your thyroid function. So there's a problem with anemias. Hang on one second, I have a little technical issue here. See? There you go. Sorry about that. Getting back to this real quick. So we kind of flash forward through my PowerPoint presentation. I apologize. Okay. There we go. So getting back to we just kind of missed the boring part. We're getting to the juicy part next. We're going to identify the trigger. So what is a trigger? A trigger is something that's causing disruption other than autoimmune disease that's going to cause problems with your thyroid gland. So the triggers include things like anemias or problems transporting oxygen on your red blood cells, problems with unstable blood sugar, problems with adrenal dysfunction like abnormal amounts of cortisol, problems with inflammation, problems with hormone imbalances, that's the sex hormones, gastrointestinal dysfunction, food sensitivities, stealth infections, and chemical sensitivities. Okay, so how do we identify these triggers? We do them through lab testing. And the lab testing that we're going to want to do is blood, urine, stool, and saliva tests. So what we do is we send you off to a laboratory. They take these samples, we send them to a lab, and they measure exactly how out of balance that you are. And the next step is to remove the triggers to get you back into harmony. Once you are able to control your immune system issues, and once you are able to identify and then remove all these lab triggers, your thyroid problems are going to go away right away. So only proper testing and interpretation of those tests is going to uncover the triggers. So thyroid dysfunction are signs of metabolic dysfunction, and ultimately proper testing is essential and critical to uncover and fix this problem. So we want to do a complete blood and urine test. A complete blood and urine test includes 9 different thyroid tests, a comprehensive metabolic panel, blood sugar markers, an anemia panel, a complete blood count, inflammation markers, and vitamin D levels. Then we want to check for hormones, checking your adrenal function. Those are your stress glands, checking your cortisol rhythms, checking for sex hormone problems to see if you may have estrogen or progesterone dominance issues, checking for food allergies. That would be things like you're eating something and then like 3 days later you develop a migraine or your thyroid gets all wacky. And that's done through an IgG4 hormone panel. We check for stool microbial, checking for bacterial overgrowth and undergrowth, checking for yeasts and parasites, and an autoimmune panel, that's the Th1 and Th2 challenge, and then checking for other areas of autoimmunity. Let's see if we have any questions with this. Hang on one second. Okay, so Sandy had come to me. She had been suffering for about 15 years with weight gain, low energy. She had a brain fog, and she had a very bad intolerance to exercise. So I found and treated her for the following triggers. She had problems with food allergies, leaky gut syndrome, adrenal fatigue, and blood sugar problems. And within 6 weeks, Sandy was able to lose 20 pounds. She had no more brain fog, better energy, and she was able to exercise as before. So how many people in here, just go ahead and put this in the chat, how many people can identify with any of these problems like Sandy had? Weight gain, low energy, brain fog, and intolerance to exercise. If you're having these problems, I can probably help you. So I'm just checking out some of the things that people had written in the past. So Sally says, I can. And Catherine wrote, never ending fatigue and sleep problems. And so a lot of people are suffering with fatigue issues, it seems like. Okay. Let's get back to this. So Lynn had come to me. She had been suffering for 24 years with problems with her GI tract. She had diarrhea and constipation. She had weight gain and poor energy. And so I found and treated her for the following triggers. She had Hashimoto's disease, and she had leaky gut syndrome, food intolerances, and chronic inflammation. Within only 8 weeks, I was able to restore normal bowel movements, and she was able to lose 25 pounds and we were able to restore her energy levels to areas that she hasn't seen in 24 years. Tracy had come to me, and she had been suffering for 8 years with problems with hair loss. Her hair was falling out in clumps in the sink, and then every time that she washed it in the tub. She had insomnia. She had problems falling asleep or staying asleep. She had brain fog, muscle and joint pain. And I found and treated her for the following triggers. She had blood sugar imbalances, gut problems, and problems with chronic inflammation. That's what we found. And within only 4 weeks, Tracy was able to sleep throughout the night. The brain fog was completely gone, as was the chronic muscle and joint problems. So let me ask you a question. What would your life be different if you didn't have the problems that you're having right now? How would it be different? How would it be improved if you didn't have those? And what would you be able to do if you didn't have any of those symptoms anymore? Go ahead and write your answers in the chat. Let me take a look at which you have. So Paula wrote brain fog, no energy, and can't gain weight, can't drink milk anymore and orange juice. So she has an intolerance to food. But how would your life be better if you didn't have these problems? Go ahead and write that in the chat, in this chat section of this PowerPoint. Susan from Castle Shannon wrote that his method of treating thyroid is different from other physicians. Rather than taking more and more drugs, he found certain foods that I was eating which were the cause of my problems. His methods are different. They work, and I couldn't be more happy. I feel better every day now thanks to Dr. Smith. This is truly life-changing care. So this is what I'm going to recommend for you. If you're having problems with any of the symptoms that we talked about, low energy, brain fog, weight problems, problems with your hair falling out, problems with the outer loss of the outer 1/3 of the eyebrow, problems with cracked or weak fingernail beds, problems falling asleep or staying asleep, or making energy, or having depression, anxiety, nervousness, irritability, any of that stuff, we have to take some action. So my recommendation for you is to start off by doing what's called a strategy session. What's a strategy session? A strategy session is where I do a deep dive into your problems. So we start off by doing I send you some questionnaires to check for your lifestyle and your nutritional status. We do a nutritional review so that ultimately I can create a root cause analysis. I can find out exactly what's causing your problems. I can give you an action plan to help to reverse these problems, and then I can give you some lab recommendations. So the chat's lighting up again. So please wait and feel better, or be a happier person, worry less, and hopefully get off the medications, have your life back, eat better without running to the restroom, and lift the brain fog and all that kind of stuff. So that's what you want to do with the strategy session, is to let me help you to figure out what's causing these problems by doing a strategy session. We'll start off again with doing a questionnaire. It's a medical questionnaire. It's kind of extensive. So I could do a deep dive, find out a little bit more about your health history, check out things like your lifestyle, your nutritional profile. And also, if you have had any lab tests done by other doctors in the last year or so, I'll take a look at those as well. You can send this to my office, and I'll give you an action plan, things that you can do right away to feel better, and use some lab recommendations. The strategy session, the investment for the strategy session is $197. For tonight, as a gift for coming to this webinar, I'll take $100 off. So for people that come to the webinar tonight, it's $97. So the goals of the strategy session is to identify the root causes and barriers to your health. Number 2, to create a personalized plan that will work. Number 3, help you to avoid the trap of chronic disease. Number 4, offer a drug-free solution that can work for you. Number 5, give you your life back. And number 6, give you hope and clarity. This is typically the things that people have told me that they're after. So you can do that by doing the strategy session. So what comes next? You make the decision to take action. Make the decision to take action and get your life back. And number 2, handle the investment and book your session. The link to doing the strategy session is in the chat. So let me make sure that we have that posted for you. There we go. So the strategy, all you have to do is click on that link. So once you click on that link, this will pop up. This is also a book your $97 strategy session with Dr. Kevin Smith. These calls are designed to help you discover what's ultimately causing your thyroid issues. These calls are $97, normally $197, and only available for a limited time. And due to demand, we cannot accommodate any reschedules. So what you do is you pick which type of a strategy session that you want to do with me, either by phone or by video chat. Whatever, I do both. I'd be happy to talk to you on the phone or talk to you through Zoom, whatever you'd like to do. So this is my guarantee to you. I guarantee that I will give you my absolute best. I will listen to you and I will find out exactly what's going on, and I will give you my 20 years of clinical experience, expertise, education, and knowledge, and put everything that I have into the strategy session for you. So what can you get for $97? Well, you can get dinner out for a family of 4 at a decent restaurant. You can get 2 tickets to a Major League Baseball game. You can get 2 fill-ups at the gas station, and it's kind of really one right now. Or you can get the ability to transform your health and your life with a strategy session. So as a gift for booking a strategy session tonight, I'm going to throw in this gift. This is a 5-day thyroid recovery weight loss plan book. We'll send it out to anybody that books the strategy session tonight, and we'll send it out via email to you. So we can agree that you have a problem, you have a chronic thyroid issue, and then it's not going to go away on its own. If it could, it would have already. Number 2, you want help, but you're not getting the help from your doctors. And number 3, you want to make a change, but you don't know where to start. The place that you start is with a strategy session with me. Let me help you book that strategy session tonight, and let's figure out what's causing your problems so we can turn your life around and fix all the problems that you're having. So it's time to change your life. This journey is ultimately going to require both of us to do our jobs. It's your job to reach out for help, and that begins with a strategy session. And it's my job to listen to you, to guide you, and to give you a plan of action that will help you to achieve your goals so that you can live the life that you truly want, need, and deserve. So I thank you very much for joining me on this webinar. I'm going to open up the chat to some questions, so have a little bit of questions and answers. So I got a text from Mary, and Mary says that my issues are weight gain, my hair is falling out, and I have no energy. What are your recommendations for me? So Mary, we need to take a look at your past medical history to see what's going on and to see what clues that could be that's causing these problems in your life. And so by signing up with a strategy session, I'll have a chance to take a deep dive into your medical background and to take a look at what's going on and try to formulate a plan of action for you, okay? All right, so Susan wrote that I have no energy, I've got multiple GI problems, insomnia, and frequent aches and pains. Do you think it could be caused from thyroid issues? Yes, absolutely, Susan. All of those problems are telltale signs of a thyroid problem, and they could all be traced back to your thyroid being out of balance. The good news is that it can be corrected. But we have to do a strategy session to find out exactly where those problems are and what we need to do to try to correct them. And then Cheryl texted me, how do you determine if the issue is Hashimoto's or could it be something else? The way that you determine that one is by doing some lab testing. You can't just look at somebody and just say, I think you've got thyroid problems. I think you've got Hashimoto's. So the way that we do that is to do the TPO antibody test and the anti-thyroid globulin antibody test. We do those tests in combination with the questionnaires so we can kind of drill down and figure out exactly what's causing your problems and what to do about this. All right, so let's go into the chat. So I have a couple of more seconds that I can spend some time with people if they have any other issues. Okay, so it looks like we're all done. I'd like to thank you very much. I apologize for at the beginning. I didn't realize that I wasn't sharing my screen with you. So I hope that I was able to, you were able to forgive me for that little sin. But anyway, we tried to do the best we could. Thank you very much for attending this webinar. I look forward to working with you. And go ahead and sign up for the strategy session tonight. And let's see what we can do to build you a brighter future tomorrow. Thank you very much. Have a good night.